This evening, though. Tomorrow, partly cloudy and southwesterlies. Right now, it's 12 degrees.
Your voices, your stories, your opinion. Kerre Woodham Mornings with Pinnacle Life's multi-award-winning life insurance online advice tool. Newstalk ZB.
Newstalk ZB. It is 10:07. You know who he is. He's Christopher Luxon. He's the leader of the National Party. He joins me now for our quarterly catch-up. It's also our penultimate one before the election.
Is it really?
Yeah, so we've got one more.
Kerre.
Yeah, it's nice to have you. Only 65 days away. Home detention, and I'm sure our listening audience, including our gangsters on home detention.
I've heard you've had a few dialing in this morning.
Somebody said,
made life interesting.
Will you have Harry Tam on? I assume he will phone in at some point, given our audience this morning. But what are you going to do about that? A bill says when Home D was introduced, we were told it was for non-violent crime only.
Yeah. Well, Bill's bang on. Essentially what's happened is people who actually should be, commit violent crime, should be in prison, end up on home detention. And now what's happening is people that are on home detention, surprise, surprise, are absconding from it in record numbers. And so what we've got to do is make sure we've got stronger sentencing in place. And essentially what's happened here is the government's only ever had one goal in the law and order space, which is a 30% reduction in the prison population, right?
Which they've almost achieved.
Yeah, it's one of the few targets that they're sort of on track to sort of deliver ultimately. But the problem with that is that it actually just sent a message through the judiciary that actually, I think we've ended up with a much lighter sentencing than we probably should.
The judiciary is supposed to be independent. How are you going to influence
Well,
it?
we're going to change the Sentencing Act so we actually limit the discounts that judges can do because we've seen some perverse outcomes, obviously, where someone should have 3 years of prison time and ends up on 5 months on home detention.
What's it
and there are
saying
many other cases
about women too and sexual offending? That they're basically saying, it's a minor crime given the number of
there's been some horrific
offenders.
cases that we've all read about that you sort of say, man, that sentencing does not match anywhere near that crime. So what we have to do is make sure we cap the amount of discounts that judges can give. The second thing is we're going to ban the cultural reports, which the government has been funding, which is actually contributing to the lowering of sentencing and discounts. And we're actually going to give that money to victims of crime in the court system and going through the process. And then we're going to say actually for anyone who's on remand prisoners or sentenced prisoners, actually they're all available, all the rehabilitation services available from them from day one.
So for remand prisoners
because almost 45% of our prisoners are actually remand, meaning they've been deemed to be a risk to the public and as a result they're in prison, but they haven't yet been sentenced and they haven't been able to access the rehabilitation services from day one. So if we're serious about getting onto it, and the problem is that some of those remand prisoners actually serve their whole time on remand and then they eventually get sentenced and then it gets taken off what they've already served. So we've got to just get really clear about it, that we want stronger sentences. We'll cap the amount of discounts that judges can give, make sure we stop the cultural reports and stop funding them, give that money to victims, and then make sure that we end up in a much better way. We also have to make things like gang membership an aggravating factor in sentencing.
Well, I had a very articulate gangster on Home D.
Lovely.
Articulate, hard-working farmer from Opotiki who's, what did he say? Mob for life, I think.
Yeah, but I mean...
But he's also delusional because he thinks that there's absolutely no reason why roads shouldn't be closed to allow funeral processions for gangsters to go through town. He truly equated it with roads being closed for Prime Ministers.
Be under no illusion, gangs are not nice people. They want all the rights of being Kiwis, but they're not prepared to take the responsibilities.
So what will you do about that?
Well, we're going to tackle gangs by saying we're going to ban gang patches in public places. We're going to give police dispersal powers to break them up when they're in public places, intimidating and which we've seen a lot of. Make sure they've got non-consulting powers, police, so they can actually...
Don't we already have non-association laws?
Well, no, but they're not strong enough.
Okay.
And then the next thing is that we need warrantless search powers because the issue is illegal guns, and that's driving a 33% increase in violent crime across the country. So
warrantless searches? That's a bit dangerous, isn't it?
No, where you actually have a gang member that has been convicted of a serious offence over the last 10 years, you can serve them what are called firearm prohibitions orders. So they shouldn't be around guns, have a gun, be anywhere near a gun. And actually when you pull them over, say in a car, or you go investigate a gang pad, you actually need to be able to check with search powers then that they actually are not anywhere near those guns, which is really important. So it's just, we have to be really clear, and we've seen the evidence in other states in Australia that we actually have to tackle gangs and be really clear that behaviour is not acceptable. But it's not acceptable, right? I mean, Opotiki was unbelievable. Gangs came to town, schools got closed, people couldn't catch the bus service, and when you talk to people and residents in the area, they were living in fear and intimidation. why are gangs' rights greater than and other people's rights subsumed as a result?
So we saw it all through lockdown. And then are you not concerned that at the moment, gangsters are killing each other? And that's causing grief and pain to their communities.
Absolutely.
But are you concerned that by taking the fight to the gangs, the fight comes back into the community?
Well, here's the problem. In the 6 years of this government, gang membership is up 70%. We now have 9 gang members for every 10 police officers, and they recruit faster. So we have 5 police districts already where there are more gang members than there are police officers today. So the reality is, we have to get on top of the gang problem because it is fueling and driving a lot of our violent crime. And my frustration in the law and order space is that we get to choose as a country whether this is acceptable to us. But every 6 months, it's getting more frequent, it's getting more violent, it's getting more gratuitous. And we don't just walk around this place saying this is just how it is here in New Zealand. We do get to change it, and we get to say that's unacceptable to us. There are rights and responsibilities in New Zealand that we have to each other and to the country, and gangs don't enforce that.
But there's a reason why a young person is attracted to a gang. It's because they're not getting their needs met by their family or by their community or through their school.
Yep.
But they don't come out of nowhere.
No, for sure. And there's 2 parts to this. The first part is you have to be tough on crime and actually say there are consequences, there are rights and responsibilities, there is something called personal accountability. There are values of us in New Zealand, and we've got to make sure we protect that. That's why back the police, tackle the gangs, serious consequences for serious young offenders, stronger sentencing is important. And then you're right, the other piece is, well, what are the determinants that are actually driving crime and the issues that we're seeing in our society? And that's what we call social investment, that Bill English started this good thinking around. And we're going to bring that to life. And I'm going to have Nicola Willis lead that along with the finance portfolio, because I actually want us to really turbocharge that work and move it from theory into action. And one of the things you do there is you actually use community organisations to actually power up and who are getting good results and good outcomes, but you scale them up to do more of that good work.
Yeah.
And when I've sat with community organisations that are working with 16 and 15 and 14-year-old Ram Raider kids who have got ankle bracelets on, they've done some incredible work. They make connections with those young people and get them to realise the consequences of the choices that they've made.
Because you and I know jack about crime life. We don't know anything about dysfunctional families. We've only known love and warmth and respect and having needs met.
Yep.
These kids are from another planet, and we need people who can talk their language.
And we need powerful, targeted interventions in their lives, because we believe that we want every kid in New Zealand to be able to have an equality of opportunity to how they get to live their life. But they didn't get to choose the neighbourhoods, the families, the communities that they're part of that actually lead them down a bad path. But we do need to make sure, on the one hand, we're going to hold really firm on consequences and being tough on crime. On the other hand, there's long-term work to make sure that we actually get and use community organisations, I believe, better than central government to actually deliver those outcomes and to make those differences in those young people's lives.
It was so, when you announced the banning of cell phones at schools, I thought, why are you bothering with a rats and mice type of policy like that? It got a phenomenal response. And the more I thought about it, the more it is drawing a line in the sand and starting with this. It's like the broken windows type policy in New York.
Yeah.
You say, no, this is unacceptable. School is a safe place where you won't be bullied via cell phone, where you won't be distracted via cell phone, where you won't be exposed to pornography via cell phone.
Yep.
You are safe here.
Yeah, I think the thing I've learned in 2 and a bit years in politics is, unlike anywhere else, what you get is a lot of solutions and ideology that goes roaming around to look to attach to a problem. And in my old world, what you do is you define a problem really well, and then you put common sense, practical policies against that. So if you get to education, what's our problem? Our problem is abysmal academic achievement.
Oh.
Half our kids arrive at high school today not ready to go and not at the expectation they're at. Half our 15-year-olds failed the most basic maths, reading and writing test. And when you and I went to school, we were in the top 10 countries of the world on maths, reading and science. So that's the problem defined. And so what do you need to do about it? Teach the basics well, as we've talked about before. But actually, mobile phone use, the research all around the world, the experience of Australian states that already have implemented it, schools here in New Zealand that have already implemented it, it's a distraction and a disturbance from learning. And so if we're either serious about maximising the time for those kids to learn the basics well, so we set them up for a great future, why do we want to do that? Why do we want a world-class education system? So people can access higher paying jobs and incomes, and the country gets wealthier and people get more choice about what they're doing and more productive.
Yeah.
So
I've got a
it's just sort
question
of working
from
the
Tony.
problem backwards to the solutions.
I've got a question about cell phones from Tony. Tony, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Mr. Luxon. I applaud your idea about the banning of cell phones in school, but I just wondered, if a school doesn't adhere to the law, what will be the penalties for schools that choose to allow children to basically have cell phones? What will be will it be a fine system, or what will happen there, Mr. Luxon?
Yeah, well, Tony, how it sort of works is that the executive branch of government, the Cabinet, passes a regulation under the Education Act, and there's lots of regulations that schools have to then enforce and comply with, and then it gets audited and checked by the Education Review Office, what's called ERO, and so that's what would happen here as well. What we're saying to schools, though, is it's up to you to actually work out what the best way to implement that policy actually is. And as long as we have our phones away, they're not available in classroom, they're not available during lunchtime, break, any of that stuff. Kids can have access to them straight after school, but they can't during the school hours actually have access to their phones. And we're doing it, as I said earlier, because of academic achievements poor, and we're also doing it because we want better social interaction through the lunchtime. We know there's some health benefits and social benefits that come from that. Some schools, I was in a primary intermediate school, they just say to all the kids and parents, don't bring your phones to school. If you have to, though, check it in at reception when you come in and grab it at the end and then call mum and dad or the carer to pick you up. Other schools have sleeves for the kids to put the phones into in their homerooms. Other schools just say, turn them off, put them in your bags, keep them away all day.
All right, thank you very much for that. Newstalk ZB, Christopher Luxon in studio until 11 o'clock. It's 10:18.
Whether you're looking for a job or you're looking to fill a job, talk to one of Tribe's specialist recruitment teams. Go to tribegroup.com.
Palmer's Goodbye Winter Sale is on, with 30% off all hellebores, plus 20% off all camellias, outdoor pots and bird baths. Visit your nearest Palmer's or shop online. Sale ends August 14th. T's and C's apply. Palmer's, let's grow together.
You can't afford to miss Briscoe's one-day winter sale with an unmissable 20 to 60% off store-wide. Thursday only, 9 till 9 at Briscoe's. See online for T's and C's.
My pile of laundry's done in a flash at Liquid Laundromats.
Struggling to dry your clothes outside? Bring your laundry into Liquid Laundromats and take it home clean and dry. At Liquid Laundromats, you can dry from $5 for 14 kgs or from $6 for 22 kgs. Plus, you can extend your drying time by 5 minutes for just $1. And don't forget, every $100 accumulated on your Liquid card, they'll add a $5 bonus. Visit liquidlaundromats.com for your nearest location.
Hi, Paul from AV World. Feel what it's like when you put Atmos sound behind your movies with 3 Atmos theatres at AV World, 49 McKelvey Street in Ponsonby.
Join Darcy Waldegrave weeknights for Sports Talk, thanks to GJ Gardner Homes. The team at GJ Gardner Homes are great supporters of sport and build more homes for New Zealanders than any other builder. Keep up with the highs and lows of the day's top sports stories with Sports Talk. Weeknights 7 till 8 with Darcy Waldegrave, thanks to GJ Gardner Homes, New Zealand's most trusted home builder. Only on Newstalk ZB.
Women's Lifestyle Expo.
It's the ultimate girls' day out. The Women's Lifestyle Expo is coming to Hamilton next weekend, August 19th and 20th. Discover over 180 exhibitors showcasing fashion, beauty, health and wellness, gifts, gourmet food and so much more. Next weekend at Claudelands Event Centre. Early bird tickets on sale now. Get your tickets at womenslifestyleexpo.co.nz.
Women's Lifestyle Expo.
Have you got the fever? Get your fix with the Football Fever podcast. Jason Pine and Bonnie Jansen will keep you up to date with all the football action, all the goals, all the drama, all the glory. Listen daily as we bring you all the action from the fields at newstalkzb.co.nz/football. Football Fever with trees that count. Donate a native tree and help us score the greatest goal. Football Fever, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Oh, and this is the problem when I have you in here and when I have the Prime Minister in as well. We jam everything in and now we're right on another break. So I'll go to Graham from Matamata. Good morning to you, Graham.
Good morning. Good morning, Christopher.
G'day, Graham. How are you?
I'm very good. Well, a bit cold. Christopher, now that the IPCC has stated that methane effect on our global warming has been overstated by about 400%, and not too dissimilar for carbon dioxide using old technology and testing, I just wondered, what is the National Party going to do to address this? Because we're paying huge carbon offsets, which probably aren't required.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, if I can just deal with agricultural emissions, and where we start here is that we have treated farmers, frankly, as villains in this country over the last 6 years, and you should be deeply valued. It's 11% of our GDP, 13% of people work in farming, it's 80% of all our exports, it's $10,000 for every man, woman and child, and you feed 40 million people around the world. And the dilemma is this, is we're already amongst the most emissions efficient farmers in the world, period. And so when the government comes in and proposes a tax on farmers, essentially as they were proposing, killing off a fifth of our sheep and beef farmers in a very short period of time, all that happens is that production moves to a less emissions efficient country or farm somewhere else in the world, and global greenhouse gas emissions don't get any better. And then on the other hand, all it's doing is making every single Kiwi in New Zealand poorer. So look, I mean, we will review the science around methane in particular. That's actually a trigger in the Net Zero Act, that there is actually every 5 years the science is updated, and we revisit that and we make all our assumptions based off a new science base or an updated science base. I think that's due to kick off, I think, in early 2024. But the bigger issue for me is this, is that we're also asking our farmers to do the job with one hand behind their backs. So we have some of the greatest scientists in the world. They work at Ag Research. They developed a ryegrass that's 15% less emissions efficient. And because we have legislation from 1996 and 2002...
More emissions efficient.
Yep, more emissions efficient. More emissions efficient. And they end up not being able to test that in New Zealand. And as a result, that product is now tested in Australia and in the US. And the company that ends up developing that product and builds a great business off the back of it will probably be Australian and American, I'd suggest to you. So that's an example of that. We have methane inhibitors that are available in 35 other countries all around the world. 30% reduction in methane emissions from cows, not available in New Zealand. So we need to update that and give farmers the tools and the technologies. The second thing is you deserve to get all the maximum credit for all the good stuff that farmers have done, and they've done an incredible job. I think there's 25,000 kilometres of planting that's happened across the piece. 98% of what the Sustainable Accord was all about has already been done. So there's been some fantastic work. They need to get all the benefits and the revenue associated with that. And then ultimately, yes, you might have to still introduce agricultural emissions pricing by 2030 in my view, but you give farmers the opportunity to get the tools, technologies, get the credits and the benefits for all the good stuff they're doing, and only then would you introduce pricing.
We're going to have to take a break, but I'll come back to the roads, your commitment to building better roads and how we honour our greenhouse gas commitments after the break. Newstalk ZB 1024.
When the wheels on the school bus are stopped, you must slow down to 20k, yes, 20k. So our kids stay safe all day long. Please keep our tamariki safe. Always slow down to 20 kilometres per hour to pass a stopped school bus from either direction. A message from Auckland Transport. Come and explore Albany's hidden gem, Bupa Hugh Green Retirement Village. There's easy access to Albany's vibrant shopping centre, and it's close to idyllic local beaches and cafes. Find out more about Bupa Hugh Green Retirement Village at bupa.co.nz.
Bend On Outlet's Stocktake sale. Hundreds of your favourite bras clearing out at $20. Bend On, Fairform, Pleasure State and more. Hundreds of styles at $20. Get into your nearest Bend On outlet now so you don't miss out on selected bras at $20 and briefs at $10. Limited stock and time only.
The essence of Norwegian furniture is timeless design, top quality craftsmanship and functionality. Stressless recliners at Danske Møbler Furniture offer all these elements with the added benefit of exceptional comfort from exclusive features. Discover how the chair moves in harmony with your body. It feels like you're floating on air. And right now, save up to $1,000 at the Stressless Made in Norway sale. Stressless luxury recliners made in Norway, exclusive to Danske Møbler Furniture.
Hi, Paul from AV World. Feel what it's it's like when you put Atmos sound behind your movies with 3 Atmos theatres at AV World, 49 McKelvey Street in Ponsonby.
Women's Lifestyle Expo.
It's the ultimate girls' day out. The Women's Lifestyle Expo is coming to Hamilton next weekend, August 19th and 20th. Discover over 180 exhibitors showcasing fashion, beauty, health and wellness, gifts, gourmet food and so much more. Next weekend at Claudelands Event Centre. Early bird tickets on sale now. Get your tickets at womenslifestyleexpo.co.nz.
Women's Lifestyle Expo.
The leader of the opposition answering your questions on Kerre Woodham Mornings with Pinnacle Life. Easy online life insurance. Newstalk ZB.
Trying to get to your questions. I'll come to Jamie very shortly on the interest deductibility on landlord tax, although I thought that was relatively straightforward. You just said you'll scrap it. But roads, great. Love a road, so long as it stays a road and doesn't turn into potholes and craters and end up winding around your tyres. So how are you going to keep the roads as roads rather than just, moon craters? And how do we honour our greenhouse gas commitments while we've got cars? Because if you build roads, cars will come.
Yeah, look, I think we've got to have a vision of New Zealand, which is we want the most leading small advanced country on earth. That's what we used to have that. That should be our vision. That's what we're going to build towards. And one of the things when you say, well, how do we make that happen, is we have to have modern, reliable infrastructure. And in this country, we've managed infrastructure really, really poorly over a number of decades.
It's been political.
Yeah, and it has been. And so there's lots of things that we want to do. We want to have a 30-year pipeline of projects through the Infrastructure New Zealand. We want to do city and regional deals with local government that locks projects up for 10 years so the politicians can change, but the projects keep going. We need to be able to create a national infrastructure agency that actually has real expertise in actually funding and financing these projects.
Because I've always wondered why we don't have that. That's apolitical, and that is charged with prioritising the infrastructure programs that we need.
And that's what most countries around the world that take a strategic approach to infrastructure actually do. And you've got a long-term 30-year vision, 10-year set of projects, and then some expertise around financing and funding it all. Because we don't fund it and finance it in a way that actually, for the long term, we just fund it out of existing reserves, essentially. So what we're saying on roads is, look, whether you're going to be in an EV, whether you're going to be in a hydrogen truck, the bottom line is that we need great roads. And New Zealand's a country the size of Great Britain and Japan, 5 million people in it. We're going to always be reliant on our roads. And so we're saying, look, there's reallocation of existing money that should be taken out of some activity and put on to upgrading the quality of our roads. We'll put some more Crown capital into it as well over 10 years. But importantly, we'll also open it up to other alternative financing mechanisms. So imagine if a super fund that has a lot of our retirement money actually invested in creating a new highway, State Highway 29 from Tauranga to Hamilton. It's not due to be built until 2050 or something like that at the moment, but that would also free up tens of thousands of houses to go in and around that roading network as well. So we're a party that knows how to do infrastructure. We did the Waikato Expressway. We look at that road and go, it's faster, it's safer.
Except a lot of it's closed because of potholes.
Well, actually, the actual Waikato Expressway itself is a really good road, and what you see is, you talk to a vet I spoke to, and she said she can do 2 more jobs a day at different farms because it's faster and quicker. She can get home to her little girls at the end of the night. So good infrastructure done well, we actually know can get economic benefits and social benefits as well. So that's why we're saying we're going to take not $30 billion on light rail that's gone nowhere in 6 years and spend $140 million looking at it already. We want to take $25 billion over 10 years, do 13 roads of national significance, 4 big public transport programs, and actually upgrade and make sure we've got modern, reliable network and infrastructure. And how do we
honour our greenhouse gas?
Yeah, well, I think that's a false argument, because the top 5 countries in the world that have actually got the best roading networks, places like the Netherlands and Singapore and Japan and Hong Kong, have actually also been countries that have actually lowered their emissions over that same period of time as well. So they're mutually exclusive. We can do both. And this notion that we have to have crappy roads and we have to move everyone out of cars into public transport in parts of New Zealand where it's just never going to stack up as a viable alternative is just a false logic in my view.
Jamie, thank you for waiting. Good morning.
Good morning, Kerre. Good morning, Christopher. How are you this morning? Hey, thanks for taking my call. I've got a simple question for you, Christopher. It's around the interest deductibility. I just need some help with it. We all understand that you're going to repeal what we would call the landlord tax. However, I've spoken to your House spokesperson, Chris Bishop, and also Nicola And what the concern out there in the investor community is the policy. There hasn't been any details around whether it's going to be phased back in. I understand like it's a cost of $800 million to the coffers. When do you think specifically there will be some definitive information around that policy so landlords can structure their business models moving forward?
Yeah, no, very, very good question. I mean, the three things really in the rental space is, first and foremost, the bright line test gets moved from 10 back to 2 years, which I think is important. Yes, we want to unwind the interest deductibility piece. We'll have more to say about that, as to how we'll do that. Today, I think it's sitting at about, Jamie, I think it's about 50%, isn't it, in terms of it's been a phased implementation. And so we'll have to look into that very closely. But our intention is we want to unwind interest deductibility, absolutely. And we have to get the balance right between landlord and tenant legislation as well. And the reason's pretty simple, is the government was actually advised don't remove interest deductibility, don't extend the bright line test, because it just adds cost to landlords. It leads to higher rents and therefore more inflation. And that is exactly what has happened. Rents are up $175 a week. And
so I think Jamie was saying, when will it be wound back?
We'll have Nicola will have a stronger view on that before the election. But again, we're at 50% now, and whether we phase it back, because we probably have to manage it that way, I suspect. But we'll have more to say about that before the election and confirm that for everyone.
Yeah, we will talk about how we're in the poo financially as a country. New Zealand Inc.
We're in a tough time, and I think the books are getting worse, and I think we've seen that even since the budget. And I want people to be really clear about it. We have seen economic mismanagement and vandalism on a scale we've never seen before in New Zealand, and that has caused inflation. That's led to interest rates going through the roof. We're now the only country in the Asia-Pacific region in a recession, and with recession comes rising unemployment, and that's the history of economics, and so that's what we've got to go fix.
Newstalk ZB, you can tell us how you'll fix it after the news headlines. It's 10:33.
Newstalk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
DBS, fresh air in, stale air out. Now we've got a crash, Mangere East, Massey Road between Yates Road and Buckland Road. If you can update us, 0800 jammed. The north-western still heavy from St Luke's. Our earlier breakdown after St Luke's has been cleared. The southern motorway moderate to heavy Penrose through to Green Lane. Say yes to the people who know ventilation best. DVS. Ivanka Zonic for time saver traffic.
Are you a Mitre 10 Club member? Shop with the Mitre 10 Club this month and you could win one of two $1,000 Mitre 10 gift cards. Not a member? Join online for free and get exclusive access to competitions, monthly club deals and more. Like a Tui Garden waste bag, just $9. Or save 30% on a fuller 103-piece screwdriver set, now $39.98. Join at mitre10.co.nz/club. T's and C's apply.
Are you finding it difficult to hear people in noisy situations, but not sure how much hearing aids will help? With Audica's free 2-week trial, we've made it easy to find out. First, we'll help you select the device that's right for you. Then try them out for 2 weeks and discover the difference they may make to your everyday life for free. Love your ears. Call 0800 785 077 or visit audica.co.nz to book your free hearing check. Free checks and trials for people over 18 years old.
Hi, I'm August. A few years ago, Dad bought me a puppy without getting pet insurance. All was fine until I drew up the puppy and it hurt him. I'll never forget Dad's face when he got that big $8,000 vet bill. Sorry, Dad. Make sure you get affordable pet insurance today. Phone Pet Insure on 0800 367 444.
Phone Pet Insure 0800 367 444.
Visit goodhomeproducts.co.nz and watch the online video that's gone viral. It's about a new DIY product called Curtain Wizard. It's designed to make it easy for you to remove mold from your curtains, blinds and drapes. With Curtain Wizard, you don't take your curtains down. You simply spray and the mold will go away. Shop online now for Curtain Wizard and for a limited time get a 2-litre pack for just $59.99 plus delivery. Visit goodhomeproducts.co.nz.
Newstalk ZB headlines.
With Blue Bubble taxis, it's no trouble with a blue bubble. The Commerce Commission has revealed more details about its planned market study into personal banking services. The watchdog will be looking into competition between banks and whether bank profits are too high. Police are seeking CCTV footage from a nearby rubbish tip in the investigation into a deadly mushroom lunch in Victoria. Gail and Don Patterson and Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson have died after having lunch at their ex-daughter-in-law Erin Patterson's home. Dynamic pricing on McDonald's app looks to be treading a fine legal line with data collection. Users have taken to social networking site Reddit, complaining regular users are being charged more than casual users. A look into how our primary education system fell short during the COVID pandemic. Maxim Institute research suggests the focus was more on secondary students and their access to tech and internet, creating a digital divide for primary schools. ASB boss warns interest rate pain will emerge over time. You can find out more about this at NZ Herald Premium. Now back to Kerre Woodham.
Susie, thank you. It is 23 minutes to 11. Christopher Luxon, leader of the National Party here. Ross, you asked the question that I was going to ask. You ask it.
Hello.
Hi, Ross.
Oh, that's all right. G'day, how are you?
Good.
Chris, will you be prepared to tell us all now to say you're going to help pay off debt by digging up coal and selling it overseas like Australia does? That we've got millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of coal, and it should be dug up and sold.
Well, the question had paying off debt. How are we going to do it?
Yeah,
and
look, I mean,
we're in the poo.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is we don't have the luxury now of just turning off revenue in New Zealand, and closing whole sectors and industries down. We are the only country, as I said before, in the Asia Pacific region with our economy now shrinking, and it's really important. And government debt has gone from about $5 billion in 2019 up to $73 billion today, and I think it's on track for $90 billion going forward.
Which would be fine if we had
something to show for it,
yeah.
Right? But we've got nothing to show for it. Everything has gone backwards: health, education, crime, infrastructure, roading. You just look at it; everything's gone backwards. So we've got nothing to show for all of that borrowing, which is because the government has been spending so much, and that's why I keep coming back. The government wants to say we've got a tax problem in New Zealand. We don't have a tax problem. We have a spending problem in New Zealand. Government has spent an extra $1 billion a week above what it normally would spend since it came to power. Every week we spend $1,000 million more every 7 days in this country, and it's actually an 80% increase in government spending that's taken place. And as you say, nothing to show for it. So we actually have to go through that spending items line by line, that $137 billion, and stop the really dumb stuff. And there has been some incredibly dumb and stupid and wasteful stuff that's been going on.
Because the cliches are that Labor is the caring, empathetic government who will look after those at the bottom of the heap. And National comes in and then cuts, the Ruth Richardson, the mother of all budgets, and leaves people. I think you're still living with the shadow of that.
Yeah, I'll just say to you, though, we're going to increase spending in health and education every year that we're in government. But again, in my 2.5 years around Parliament in Wellington, it's unique. A government measures its success by how much it spends rather than the results that it achieves. Yeah. And if I was coming from any other part of the world, you'd say the results are what matters. And so from our point of view, we have to go through that spending line item by line item. We have to free up our businesses to grow. They need the immigration settings sorted. They need also red tape removed so they can actually do that. We don't pass costs on to businesses that lead to higher prices that stops them from growing and investing. We have to give people some tax relief because inflation adjusting tax thresholds is not a political or an ideological thing. It's just a practical response to high inflation. And then we've got to get the Reserve Bank focused on getting inflation back under 3%. And if we can get inflation down, interest rates down, the economy growing again, and keep people secure in employment, that's what we've got to do. So, we do have a great country, Kerry. We have a fantastic country, but we have lost our way. And we're not realising the potential. We're not solving the problems. We're not maximising the opportunities that we've got.
Well, see, I get so many texts, and you probably get the same kind of correspondence. Hey, Chris, me and my wife and 2 young children, both working and paying tax, are looking to move to Australia early next year. If you're elected, what will you do to help keep young families in the country?
Yeah, well, see, that's what I think my primary job of Prime Minister and a government should be, is that we've got to build this country and this joint into a place that people want to stay. They want to be able to start a business because they think they've got great possibility doing that. They want to make a contribution to the community. They want to raise a family here.
And have their kids get a decent education that can put them on a par with the rest of the world.
Exactly. So what have we got to do? We've got to rebuild this economy so we lower the cost of living and get inflation under control. Secondly, we've got to restore law and order and personal responsibility. And thirdly, we have to deliver, exactly as you said, better education and health. And
Where are you going to put all the people that are just being stored in filthy motels?
Well, again, that gets you back to the broader housing problem that we've got in New Zealand, because the issues are all linked.
That is so expensive to keep them.
It's $1 million a day, and I think they're up there for 23 weeks, and the reality is 3,500 kids today woke up in a motel.
It's disgusting.
It is, and the reason is...
So where will you put them?
Well, you've got to be able to build... First of all, you've got to open up more houses and actually build more houses, because that's when people can buy and own a house. If they can't buy and own, they then rent. You've got to get that private rental market working well. I've met people that fell out of rental situations, private rental situations, and ended up actually going straight into motel accommodation because rent went up $50 a week. So you've got to get that functioning right. That's partly what we were talking about before around bright line interest deductibility tenancy, but also some other products, what are called build to rent products that we could introduce a lot more. The third thing is, if you can't own rent, you end up getting a state house. The state house wait list is blown out by another 20,000 people. And so you've actually got to get the community housing providers get access to capital so they can start building more and more houses as well. Salvation Army, Māori Property Trusts, Habitat for Humanity, all those kind of people, put good pastoral care, and you get the people out of the motel and accommodation into that.
Newstalk ZB, Christopher Luxon in studio. It is 17 minutes to 11.
Hi, I'm August. A few years ago, Dad bought me a puppy without getting pet insurance. All was fine until I dropped the puppy and it hurt him. I'll never forget Dad's face when he got that big $8,000 vet bill. Sorry, Dad. Make sure you get affordable pet insurance today. Phone Pet Insure on 0800 367 444.
Phone Pet Insure 0800 367 444.
The essence of Norwegian furniture is timeless design, top quality craftsmanship and functionality. Stressless recliners at Danske Møbler Furniture offer all these elements with the added benefit of exceptional comfort from exclusive features. Discover how the chair moves in harmony with your body. It feels like you're floating on air. And right now, save up to $1,000 at the Stressless Made in Norway sale. Stressless luxury recliners made in Norway, exclusive to Danske Møbler Furniture.
Sink into your Sunday with the best session around. The Sunday Session with Francesca Rudkin, 9 till noon. Delivering a little bit of everything thanks to Whitcoulls. Whether it's news, opinion, analysis, lifestyle and entertainment, we've got your Sunday morning covered with Whitcoulls. More than 50 stores nationwide for the best selection of great reads and more. The Sunday Session with Francesca Rudkin, this Sunday 9 till noon, thanks to Whitcoulls, your one-stop gift shop.
New Zealand's Herald. First when the news breaks. There as the story's told. Clear on the issues from all sides of the debate. Here with the truth that affects every one of us. Here when you need to know. The New Zealand Herald. News worth knowing.
If I get hurt, who's going to walk the dog? Who's going to take Gran to her appointment? Who's going to take the tamariki to karate training? Who's going to organise the potluck dinner at school? Who's going to give me a bath?
Have a and ask yourself, if you get hurt, who gets harmed? Find out more at acc.co.nz.
Christopher Luxon, taking your calls on 0800 80 1080 on Kerre Woodham Mornings with Pinnacle Life, easy online life insurance. Newstalk ZB.
And everyone's a critic. You let him off the hook on coal, Kerre. What about the coal? You didn't answer the question about coal.
Yeah, well, look, on the West Coast, what I'd say to you is there's some really good operators who actually are, digging out coal. They actually.
What about new licences?
Well, we can still manage that. Yes, we can still open up some new licences. Yes, we can do some.
Okay.
What I'd say to you is what's really impressive when you actually see what they're doing is they actually can open up new licences, dig, get coal out, but actually they backfill and actually manage the environment, I think, incredibly well and actually leave it
oil
very
and gas.
good shape. Well, the reality there is what we have to do is we have to double the amount of renewable electricity in the country, or energy in the country. Yep. And what we want to do is actually have consenting periods that are just 1 year for any renewable energy project, rather than 8 years for a wind farm to get consenting and then 2 years to build it. So we're going to say we value that. We want to double the amount of renewable energy and electricity. That's important because that'll make transitions happen on transport and manufacturing, and that will take about a third of our emissions off if we can do that. Today, if we made the transition, we wouldn't get there because we don't have enough electricity. So we want to open up and do a lot more renewable energy, but there will be a role, I suspect, for gas in particular as a transitory energy until we get to that point.
Did that answer the question, listeners? I'm sure you'll let me know if it didn't. We talked about houses before. You pulled out of the housing court.
Yeah, look, I mean, the reality is that we need to densify our cities, particularly above transport corridors, is one thing, but we also do need to open up greenfield space for new housing as well. We have a country the size of Great Britain and Japan, as I've said before, lots of space. So what we have to do is get cities and councils to consent 30 years of housing growth and rezone land today, essentially. So we know where that land is going, rather than opening up and rezoning land in bits and drips and drabs. Actually, everyone's clear about where that expansion will take place. And then we actually let developers get on with it. They might put a targeted rate on that development, meaning that the people that are moving into that space are paying for the infrastructure that has to go in, like roads and pipes, all that stuff, rather than being subsidised by all the other people in the town or the city. And then we're going to say to the councils, look, if you consent more houses than your last 5-year average, we're going to pay you $25,000 per house per consent, and then you can spend that in the city or town as you see fit. But we have to incent the building and development of more houses, because essentially our consenting process is too long, it's too costly, and we're actually not getting houses built when we know that we can do that.
Matt, this is one that's on a lot of people's minds, I know. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Mr. Luxon. Thank you for taking my call.
G'day, Matt.
Question for you in the National Party. It's arguably one of the worst times in this country for race relations in New Zealand now. It's a big topic that a lot of people are talking about. My question to you is, for example, where we've got the waiting list now that there's been ethnicity put into the waiting list, what do you and the National Party do or what are you going to do to heal the rift in this country that's occurring between races in New Zealand now, if any?
Yeah, look, I think the thing that I'd say up front is that New Zealand's a much better and richer place by virtue of all the diversity that we've got, and that people come from different identities and communities, and we should respect that, and that's great. But actually the thing that unites us all is that we're all Kiwis first and foremost, and we're actually all in this together. And so that's why we say we have one country, we have one system of public services. We make those public services, which are public goods, available to all New Zealanders on the basis of their needs, not their ethnicity. And as a result, we're all equal citizenship, one person, one vote, equal under the law. So that's why we don't support what's called co-governance of public services, for example, because we think we should support people on the basis of their needs and come through that lens first and foremost, not ethnicity. And that's why we've opposed, ethnicity criteria, for example, in the health prioritisation and delivery of health services, because actually people's needs as well will actually capture them anyway.
But Māori have poorer health.
They do have poorer health outcomes, but I'm saying it's just a way in which you look at the lens by which actually their needs are met, and we know that Māori have poorer health outcomes, whether it's mortality rates, whether it's on all the health indicators, to be honest. And so we can deliver services to Māori through community organisations, again, that know those communities well. But again, the prioritisation of scarce resources in a healthcare budget should always be determined on the basis of people's needs.
And in part, I mean, we're used to...
And they'll get captured, your ethnicity will get captured by virtue of your need, Yeah.
And also perhaps, again, the community groups can do a lot to get perhaps a greater trust.
Well, I saw it in COVID, right? I actually saw Chinese community groups really drive vaccination well within those Chinese communities had language challenges with mainstream, workers, efforts as well. So what I'll just say to you is, look, we are one country. We should be proud of the diversity in the communities that people come from. That makes us, I think, a much better country, but we're all in it together.
Marsden Point, can you reopen it?
No, you can't. Unfortunately, that's a legacy of this government that they've left with Northland, which is that they have actually decommissioned and shut it down, not just mothballed it. I think it's a real shortfall. I think it was a key strategic asset for New Zealand that was necessary. Shane Retty, I think, did a very good job in the North opposing it. And now we're in a position where we have to import oil and we have to keep quite a lot of storage of it. And that's where the conversation needs to go to now.
Can we build a new one as part of our infrastructure?
No, there's other priorities that we've got and the constraints that we've got financially to say, actually, right now, given they've decommissioned it all, it's too late. But we'll have to mitigate that and go to plan B and say, well, how can we maintain oil stocks in New Zealand to give us the energy security that we want and need? But frankly, with the situation we'll be inheriting with the books, there's other priorities that are higher.
Newstalk ZB 9 to 11.
Our huge stock liquidation sale is on today with up to 50% off sofas. Plus get one Endeavour or Shelby recliner and get a second recliner for only $199. We've got massive deals store-wide. T's and C's apply only at Big Save. Palmer's Goodbye Winter Sale is on with 30% off all hellebores plus 20% off all camellias, outdoor pots and bird baths. Visit your nearest Palmer's or shop online. Sale ends August 14th. T's and C's apply. Palmer's, let's grow together.
Have you been thinking about getting hearing aids but not sure they're worth the money? With Audica's free 2-week trial, it won't cost you a cent to find out. First, we'll help you select a device that's right for you. Then try them out for 2 weeks and discover the difference they may make to your everyday life for free. Love your ears. Call 0800 785 077 or visit audica.co.nz to book your free hearing check. Free checks and trials for people over 18 years old.
Auckland Council's 21 local boards have each drafted a plan to help them make decisions for the next 3 years. These include funding to support parks, playgrounds, the environment, events, arts, culture, and more for your community. Now they need your help to check if they've got it right. Visit akhaveyoursay.co.nz/local board plans or call 09 301 0101. It's your place, your voice.
Search for regencyplumbing.co.nz.
Search for Regency Plumbing and you'll find Auckland's #1 bathroom renovation team. #1 for workmanship and #1 for project management. Book Regency Plumbing to start your bathroom renovation today and you'll receive $350 worth of luxury gifts. T's and C's apply.
Search for regencyplumbing.co.nz.
Hello, I'm Steve from Allied Exteriors. Do you have a plaster home that is due for maintenance? If you want to preserve the value in your precious asset or are intending to sell, Allied Exteriors can help you. Whether you need a repaint, plaster repairs or a full plaster system refurbishment, we have a range of options for you to consider. Maximise the value in your plaster home and keep it looking great with quality maintenance. Go to alliedexteriors.co.nz.
Talk back with the leader of the opposition. Call 0800 80 1080 and have your say. It's Kerre Woodham Mornings with Pinnacle Life. Easy online life insurance. Newstalk ZB.
Man, a commercial hour goes quickly. It's not a Radio New Zealand hour, it's a commercial hour, so we have to pay our way. According to the polls, and the only poll that matters is the one on election day, but according to the polls, you're going to have to go steady with David Seymour. You can't just flirt with them. It's going to have to be a proper relationship. How are you going to manage that?
Well, look, I think National and Active worked very constructively in the past. David's someone that I know quite well. He was my neighbour for 4 years. He and I catch up from time to time for lunch and coffee and a chicken. And I think we'll be able to work very constructively together. Yes, we might have differences on the means by which we deliver the outcomes we want to do, but I think there's quite good alignment on some of the outcomes that we need to achieve. When we think about law and order spaces, for example, there might be slight differences about how we deliver that, but I think we'll be able to work our way through that very constructively. But what I'd just say to everyone listening is that if you want a guaranteed change of government, there's actually only one thing to do, which is to party vote National. And what I want is a strong, stable, National-led government that actually can get the country turned around, sorted and back on track, and that's what we're going to focus on doing. And we're going to do that by rebuilding the economy, restoring law and order, and as I said, delivering better health and education. And that's where we are, because we do have a fantastic country. We have a great potential in this country. And I know it's tough, and I know people are frustrated, and I know they're worried, and I know they're angry. Don't get angry. Vote. That's what you've got to do in a liberal democracy like New Zealand. We've been here before. We can get ourselves out of this mess, and we can get the country sorted and heading in the right direction.
It's got to be a country for everybody.
Absolutely, it does, and that's exactly the point. And the listener who was saying contemplating leaving New Zealand because they couldn't see an opportunity for them in the future. That's what we've got to work hard at. I want an economy where we can lift incomes for everybody. I want to be able to say to people that it doesn't matter what your circumstances are. I'm one of those kids. I had a regular Kiwi upbringing. Mum and Dad left school at 15, 16, first ever to go to university in generations in my family, and education got me from a set of circumstances to a better set of circumstances. I did well for myself, right? And so that's why I've come to politics 2.5 years ago, because I believe in the country. We've got so much potential. We've got all the smart people we need. We're in the right part of the world, and we've got a liberal democracy. So I get it. Let's go out and vote. Let's get the country turned around. Let's get it sorted, and let's go do the work and get it done.
You've chosen a song to go out on? What is it?
This is James Taylor, one of my great people I love listening to. He wrote a great song called Stretch of the Highway, and I thought, in light of our roading projects that we just discussed this morning, you might quite like this one, Kerry.
I think I probably will. I like James Taylor. Christopher Luxon, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Great to be with you.
I know the listeners, the vast majority, have enjoyed it.
Appreciate your time. Good to be with you.
Keep it straight and level and steady as you go. Steady as